AFR Talk at movie Summer Snow, premiering end of July. I encourage you to go to the website, summersnowmovie.com, get more information about that program, see if it's opening in a city near where you live, and plan to take your family to see it. First product of American Family Studios, Summer Snow, be opening July 25. Be looking for that. All right, let's grab a call from Jim in Meridian, Mississippi. Jim, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mr. Brian, how you doing today, man?
Good. How are you?
All right, enjoying the program and always. Thank you for the program.
Thank you.
But listen, number one, I think the government, period, needs purging, and not just the president or this present administration. The State Department and all those the government department, education and transportation needs purging, number one. And number two is I'm kind of afraid of this talk that I'm hearing. It seems like some people want to lead to the idea of you having to register as a Republican Democrat, so you won't have a choice whenever, however you want to use your vote. That's scary to me. Out of African Americans, out of all the sacrifices that we made and got the opportunity to vote, now it sounds like people are leaning toward telling me that I got to register as a Republican or Democrat. I say I don't think so. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Well, and in Mississippi, there is no, and you know this, Jim, as somebody who lives there, there's no party registration. You have to kind of choose which primary you're going to vote in, but that you can vote in any primary that you want. And so that preserves that freedom then to vote for whichever candidate in whichever party you think is going to best represent your values. There was a time when there wasn't a whole lot of difference between Democrats and Republicans in a lot of issues, especially on the moral issues. I talked about this in connection with the Democratic National Convention a couple of years ago. If you go back to prior to 1972, the Democrats were pro-life. The Democrats supported the sanctity of marriage. The Democrats were virtually indistinguishable from Republicans on the moral and social issues of the day. Now, they tended to diverge on economic issues, Democrats wanting more higher taxes, more government spending, and maybe less going into national defense. But those were largely the two differences between the parties. Now the differences are pretty pronounced, but you still have conservative Democrats. There, you may have Democrats running for office that are pro-life. Travis Childers is pro-life. Travis Childers, I think, has got a pretty good rating from the NRA. I don't know if you know the answer to that question, Rob, but I think he's in pretty good stead with the NRA, and he opposes same-sex marriage. So even Travis Childers in the state of Mississippi on social issues may be more aligned with a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservative Republicans, than Democrats in a lot of other states. All right, Jim, listen, thank you for the call. I appreciate that. Speaking of our, let me throw this in. This has been a tough stretch for Barack Obama. Let's play clip number 8, the Jonathan Turley clip. Been a bad couple of weeks for President Obama. We've talked about this, that he has lost now 13 different times at the Supreme Court by a 9-0 vote. Unanimous vote against him, slapping his hand for sticking his hand in the cookie jar where it does not belong. And yet President Obama continues to insist on doing it his way, on going it alone. And I don't remember if it was Jonathan Turley or Jonathan Tubin that said, look, under our system of government, there is no going it alone. That concept does not exist in a constitutional republic. And you don't, in a constitutional republic, you don't go it alone. That's why we have 3 branches of government, so that the power is diffused among the 3 branches of government, so each can act as a check on the other. Because the founders understood human nature. They understood that power corrupts, that absolute power corrupts absolutely, that you have to have a check on fallen human nature because men are not angels. They said, look, if men were angels, you wouldn't need government. But men are not angels, so you got to have government to restrain passions, which, if unrestrained, will wind up destroying the security and the tranquility and stability of a society. So here's Jonathan Turley. This is clip 8. He's a legal beagle that teaches law at George Washington University. It's on every cable program you can find, being the constitutional expert. He's a liberal. He likes President Obama's policies. He voted for him. But he is developing a huge concern about President Obama's overreach, and he talked about this ruling yesterday on the National Labor Relations Board, where Obama got slapped down unanimously, and then his defeat in the Hobby Lobby case. Let's listen.
It's a huge blow to the Obama administration. You know, this has been an awful 10 days. You know, they were previously found to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment and privacy. Then they were found to be in violation of the separation of powers. And now they've been found to be in violation of the First Amendment and the religion clauses. I mean, you just don't want to get out of bed after a week like that.
You know, and I wonder if some of the, this is speculation here, but I wonder if some of the blowback from the Supreme Court is that they are getting ticked at President Obama. And here's what I mean by that. They are ticked at Obama. They're shutting him down 9-zip because Obama is invading their turf. The Supreme Court says, look, this business of being tyrants, that's our job. That's what we get to do. You don't understand that it's judges that get to be the tyrants and act on our own and ignore the Constitution and ignore the law and tell everybody in the world what they have to do. That's our job. So I think they resent the fact that President Obama is horning in on their turf, and one of the reasons why they are slapping them down just from a psychological standpoint. But Turley says, look, they lost. They were found to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment and privacy. That's on the whole spying business. They were found to be in violation of the separation of powers. That's the National Labor Relations Board. Found to be in violation of the First Amendment and the religion clauses in the Hobby Lobby case, just about as bad as weak as a president could possibly have. Now, here's Jonathan Toobin, and this guy's Clip 9. He's also a legal beagle, leans to the left, always on these cable programs. And here's what he had to say yesterday.
One of the lines that sort of jumped out at me, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but a close paraphrase, I take these executive actions when we have a problem and Congress refuses to act. Well, that's not necessarily the way the Constitution set it up. He can only act when Article 2 of the Constitution says the president has the authority. He can't allocate money. He can't, he can allocate money that's already been appropriated by Congress, but he can't appropriate money himself. So, but he is treading potentially on treacherous legal grounds here. And
so that's a left-wing legal expert. He is treading on potentially treacherous legal grounds here. Here is Clip 13. Then we'll go back to the phones, 888-589-8840. Here's President Obama again talking about his willingness to go it alone if Congress won't jump in.
Now, there are others in the Republican caucus in the House who are arguing that they can't act because they're mad at me about using my executive authority too broadly. This also makes no sense.
Hasn't learned anything.
I don't prefer taking administrative action. I'd rather see permanent fixes to the issue we face. Certainly that's true on immigration. I've made that clear multiple times. I would love nothing more than bipartisan legislation to pass the House, the Senate, land on my desk so I can sign it. That's true about immigration. That's true about the minimum wage. It's true about equal pay. There are a whole bunch of things where I would greatly prefer Congress actually do something. I take executive action only when we have a serious problem, a serious issue, and Congress chooses to do nothing.
All right, that's enough of that. We can cut that clip right there. We got more, but that's all we really need. I take executive action only when we have a serious problem, a serious issue, and Congress chooses to do nothing. Now, he can't do this, but he believes he can, as President Richard Nixon might say.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
All right, so that's President Obama taking a page right out of President Nixon's playbook. Let's go back to the phones, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Andrew, Richmond, Virginia. Andrew, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hello. I was just wondering, what are your feelings on theocracy? Because it sounds like with the talk that you put out saying there should be more Christianity in the public sector and in the government, it sounds like you're a theocratic guy.
How would you define theocracy, Andrew? What does that mean to you?
Theocracy, to me, means a government that bases its legitimacy off of God and tries to implement policy in accordance with that religion's creed.
So let's go back to the Declaration of Independence for a moment, which is our foundational legal document. The Declaration of Independence, our founding fathers said that, number one, there is a creator with a capital C, and that this creator with a capital C, by which they meant the creator that's revealed in the Bible, is the source. Hold it. You'll get a chance. Is the source, the creator with a capital C, the one that's revealed in the pages of the Scripture, is the source of every single one of our fundamental human and civil rights. Now, that sounds to me like, in your view, we already are a theocracy, because our whole system of government is based on God and not government being the source of our rights. So apparently we are a theocracy, God, according to you.
They didn't say a Christian God.
Sure, they were talking about the creator of the Bible.
Well, yeah, but there are other gods. There are other belief systems.
Yeah, but the question, Andrew, is not whether there are other belief systems. The issue is, what was the belief system of the founding fathers?
Right, but they all had different ones. They weren't.
No. You're wrong about that, Andrew. For instance, with the framers of the Constitution, there were 56 signers of the Constitution. 52 of them signed a statement of belief on oath that we would call an evangelical statement of faith today. And a couple of them were deists. But Andrew, 52 out of 55 or 56 were evangelical Christians in their worldview. It was Christians that gave us the Declaration of Independence, and it was Christians that gave us the Constitution of the United States.
George Washington certainly was not. And do you know about the Treaty of Tripoli?
Well, wait, who was not a Christian?
No, George Washington was not an evangelical Christian.
Well, what I'm saying is that he took an oath swearing before Almighty God that he believed a statement of faith that we would call an evangelical statement of faith today. He believed the same thing that evangelicals believe today.
He skipped church many times. He was not what we would call an evangelical Christian. Do you know about the Treaty of Tripoli? President John Adams signed it into law.
Yeah, I sure do. Let me ask you this, Andrew. Do you know about the Treaty of Paris? Yeah. Which begins in the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity. How about that? We got to go, Andrew. I'm out of time. Focal Point, AFR Talk. Be right back. Stay with us.